Hi.
And welcome back to Mule, the 5-hour Geometry Dash level. We were at 40% yesterday, so we're going to finish the last 60%, and then possibly do it all again. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna press the space bar and the level will start. Alright, we're going. So I'm going to turn my microphone off since I genuinely have nothing to say. So yeah, I'm gonna try to come back at like 90-ish% since, yeah. That's gonna be in a while though, so yeah. Basically, there's like one click at the end of the level. Yeah. There's one click at the end of the level that I have to do. Technically I have to do it twice since there's a reverse gameplay thing. Unless it doesn't work, then this whole stream title will be a lie. But it probably works. Like I checked, it should work. Anyways, see ya. Well, 50% is passed, and I haven't found any obstacles, so whatever. Um, I'm just gonna start reading really annoying things. Alright. I can't find anything annoying, so I'm just gonna read the Wikipedia page for the Battle of Manzikert. The Battle of Manzikert or Malazgirt, was fought between the Byzantine Empire and the Seljuk Empire on the 26th of August, 1071, near Manzikert, Iberia, modern Malazgirt in Mush province, eastern Turkey. The decisive defeat of the Byzantine army and capture of the Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes played an important role in undermining Byzantine authority in Anatolia and Armenia and allowed for the gradual Turkification of Anatolia. Many Turks traveling westward during the 11th century saw the victory at Manzikert as an entrance to Asia Minor. The brunt of the battle was borne by the Byzantine army's professional soldiers from the eastern western Tagmata, as large numbers of mercenaries and Anatolian levies fled early and survived the battle. The fallout for Manzikert was disastrous for the Byzantines, resulting in civil conflicts and an economic crisis that severely weakened the Byzantine Empire's ability to defend its borders adequately. This led to the mass movement of Turks into central Anatolia. By 1080, an area of 78,000 square kilometers, or 30,000 square miles, had been gained by the Seljuk Turks. It took 3 decades of internal strife before Alexios I restored stability to Alexius the First, 1081 to 1118, restored stability to Byzantium. Historian Thomas Asbridge says in 1071 the Seljuks crushed an imperial army at the Battle of Manzikert in eastern Asia Minor, and though historians no longer consider this to have been an utterly cataclysmic reversal for the Greeks, it was still a stinging setback. It was the only time the Byzantine emperor became the prisoner of a Muslim commander, and the first time since Valerian that a Roman emperor was captured alive by an enemy force. Alright, that's just the summary. How long is this? It's very long, so I'm just gonna read it. I'm gonna read the entire thing. Background. Although the Byzantine Empire had remained strong and powerful in the early Middle Ages, it began to decline under the reign of the militarily incompetent Constantine IX Monomachos, and again under Constantine X Dukas. A brief 2-year period of reform under Isaac I. Sorry about that. My dad came into the room. Isaac I Komnenos merely delayed the decay of the Byzantine army. About 1053, Constantine IX disbanded what the 11th century Byzantine historian John Skylitzes called the Iberian Army, which consisted of 50,000 men. Skylitz's contemporaries, which the former officials Michael Ataliates and Kekaumenos agreed that by demobilizing these soldiers, Constantine did catastrophic harm to the empire's eastern defenses. Constantine made a truce with the Seljuks that lasted until 1064, when a large Seljuk army under Alp Arslan attacked the Theum of Iberia and took Ani. After a siege of 25 days, they captured the city. In 1068, Romanos IV Diogenes took power, and after some military reforms, conducted two major campaigns to combat the Seljuks and their Murdacid allies. He retook the city of Hierapolis. I've read Egyptian city names in Greek. I should know how to pronounce this. Whatever. Let's just go with Hierapolis. Hierapolis in 1068 and chased after Turkoman armies that were raiding across Anatolia with limited success, but he was unable to score decisive victory in 1069. In 1069 or 1070, Manuel Komnenos. On an expedition against the Seljuks, thwarting an attack against Iconium with a counterattack. However, he was then defeated in the Battle of Sebastia by Arisigi, Alp Arslan's brother-in-law, who then joined Byzantines. Providing him with information regarding Seljuk politics and tactics. Alp Arslan sent Afshin Bey to get Arisigi back, but he was refused at Chrysopolis, causing him to sack and pillage multiple Byzantine cities in retaliation. After Alp Arslan failed to capture Edessa following a lengthy siege, he focused his forces on besieging Aleppo. Romanos saw this as an opportunity to lead a large army into Armenia to recover the lost fortresses before the Seljuks had time to respond. Accompanying Romanos was Andronikos Doukas, son of his rival John Doukas. The army consisted of about 5,000 professional Byzantine troops from the western provinces and probably about the same number from the eastern provinces. These included the long-established regular units Heteria, Chole, and Strelati of the Central Field Army, Tagmata. Under Doukas, the rearguard at Manzikert was largely made up of the private retinues and peasant levies of the border lords Archontes. Finally, the large and diverse host included 500 Frankish and Norman mercenaries under Roussel de Baul, some Turkic Uz and Pecheneg, and Bulgarian mercenaries, infantry under the Duke of Antioch, a contingent of Georgian and Armenian troops, and some, but not all, of the Varangian Guard, to total around 40,000 men. The quantity of the provincial troops had declined in the years before Romanos, as the government diverted funding to mercenaries who were judged less likely to be involved in politics and could be disbanded after use to save money. The march across Asia Minor was long and difficult. Romanos bought a luxurious baggage train which did not endear him to his troops. The local population also suffered plundering by his Frankish mercenaries, whom he was obliged to dismiss. The expedition rested at Sebastia on the Halys River, reaching Theodosiapolis in June 1071. Some of his generals suggested continuing the march into Seljuk territory and catching Alp Arslan before he was ready. Others, including Nicephorus Bryennius, suggested they wait and fortify their position. It was decided to continue the march. Then they moved to Kunis City. The Byzantine army, which was heading towards the Malazgirt plain, chose the road route of the Kokasu stream flowing towards Knus as a route to meet its water needs, and the army manufactured the spears to be used in the war from the trees growing in Knus and its surroundings. Thinking that Alp Arslan was either further away or not coming at all, Romanos marched towards Lake Van, expecting to retake Manzikert quickly and... Expecting to retake Manzikert quickly, and the nearby fortress of Kaliat, if possible. Alp Arslan was already in the area, however, with his allies and 30,000 cavalry from Aleppo and Mosul. He was also reinforced by the Marwanid emir, Nizam al-Din ibn Nasr al-Dawla. Dawla? You know what? I'm just... Nizam al-Din ibn Nasr al-Dawla, who sent a force of Kurdish fighters estimated at 10,000. Alp Arslan's scouts knew exactly where Romanos was, while Romanos was completely unaware of his opponent's movements. Romanos ordered his general Joseph Tarchaniotes, to take some of the regular troops and the Varangians and accompany the Pechenegs and Franks to Kalia. At the same time, Romanos and the rest of the army marched to Manzikert. This split the forces into halves of about 20,000 men each. It is unknown what happened to the army sent off with Tarchaniotes. According to Islamic sources, Alp Arslan smashed this army, yet Byzantine sources make no mention of any such encounter, and Ataliates suggests that Tarchaniotes fled at the sight of the Seljuk Sultan, an unlikely event considering the reputation of the Byzantine general. Either way, Romanos' army was reduced to less than half of his planned 40,000 men. Alright, battle. Alp Arslan summoned his army and delivered a speech while dressed in a white robe similar to an Islamic funeral shroud on the morning of the battle. I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but I need to get some water. I've been reading for the past, about 8 minutes. I've been reading for the past 8 minutes. I need to go get some water. Alright, water has been acquired. Alright. This was yeah, let's just resume. This was an encouraging message that he was ready to die in battle. Romanus was unaware of the loss of Tarchanaiotes and continued to Manzikert, which he easily captured on the 23rd of August. The Seljuks responded with attacks by horse archers. The next day, some foraging parties under Bryennios discovered the main Seljuk force and were forced to retreat to Manzikert. Romanos sent the Armenian general Basilakes and some cavalry, as Romanus did not believe this was Alparslan's full army. The cavalry was routed and Basilakes was taken prisoner. Romanus then drew his troops into formation and sent the left wing out under Bryennios, who was almost surrounded by the rapidly approaching Turks and forced to retreat. The Seljuk forces hid among the nearby hills for the night, making it nearly impossible for Romanus to counterattack. On the 25th of August, some of Romanos' Turkic mercenaries came into contact with their Seljuk kin and deserted. Romanos then rejected a Seljuk peace emissary. He wanted to settle the eastern question and the persistent Turkic incursions and settlements with a decisive military victory. He understood that raising another army would be both difficult and expensive. The emperor attempted to recall Tarchanaiotes and his half of the forces, but they were no longer in the area. There were no engagements that day, but on the 26th of August, the Byzantine army gathered itself into a proper battle formation and began to march on the Seljuk positions, with the left wing under Bryennios, the right wing under Theodore Alyattes, and the center under the emperor. Andronikos Doukas led the reserve forces in the rear, a foolish mistake by the emperor considering the dubious loyalties of the Doukas family. The Seljuks were organized into a crescent formation about 4 kilometers away. Seljuk horse archers attacked the Byzantines as they drew closer. The center of their crescent continually moved backwards while the wings moved to surround the Byzantine troops. The Byzantines pressed on despite the arrow attacks and captured Alparslan's camp by the end of the afternoon. However, the right and left wings, where the arrows did most of their damage, almost broke up when individual units tried to force the Seljuks into a pitched battle. The Seljuk cavalry simply disengaged when challenged in the characteristic Parthian tactics of steppe warriors. With the Seljuks avoiding battle, Romanos was forced to order a withdrawal by nightfall. However, the right wing misunderstood the order, and Doukas deliberately ignored the emperor's order to cover the army's withdrawal and marched directly back to the Byzantine camp outside Manzikert. With the Byzantines thoroughly confused, the Seljuks seized the opportunity and attacked. The Byzantine right wing was almost immediately routed, thinking they were betrayed either by the Armenians or the army's Turkish auxiliaries. Some authors suppose that the Armenians were first to flee, and they all managed to get away, while by contrast the Turkish auxiliaries remained loyal to the end. Other sources suggest that the Armenian infantry stoutly resisted and did not turn tail, not abandoning the emperor as many had. When Romanos saw the boldness of the Armenian foot soldiers, he displayed great affection. I got a charger. He displayed great affection for them and promised them unheard of rewards. In the end, the emperor's personal troops and the Armenian foot soldiers suffered the heaviest casualties in the Byzantine army. The left wing under Bryennios held out a little longer, but was also soon routed. The remnants of the Byzantine center, including the emperor and the Varangian guard, were encircled by the Seljuks. Romanos was wounded and taken prisoner by the Seljuks. The survivors were many who fled the battlefield and were pursued throughout the night, but not beyond that. By dawn, the professional corps of the Byzantine army had been destroyed, while many of the peasant troops and levies who had been under the command of Andronikos had fled. Alright, we're at 63%. Only 37% more to go. Yay. Alright, I'm just gonna turn my mic off. Alright, we're at 97%. This should be the last jump, I think. It's coming up soon. The last jump is going to be quite soon, in like 2% or whatever. And more like 2.5%. Or a bit less, since it's not exactly 100%. But finally, after like 2 hours, that's the length of the first half of the level, if I am correct and the level does loop. Then we can finally beat the level. Assuming we don't die to the spike, but it's a 1 spike, so whatever, I don't care. Alright, 98%. It's happening. It's happening. Very soon, it's happening. Since the percentage moves, the percentage doesn't move very quickly, since this level is 10 times slower than it should be. This level should really only be about 15 minutes. But it's 10 times slower, which means it's over 2.5 hours. And that's just 1/2 of it, since I think it does loop. There's a rotate gameplay trigger at the end, which makes the level loop. I think. Unless it doesn't, then this is only a 2.5 hour level. Actually, slightly over 2.5. It's more of a 2 hour level than it is a 5 hour level, but still, a 2 hour level is very long. It's longer than most classes in school. Unless you have really long periods or whatever. Anyways, 99%. It's almost over. Please. I'm so close. I'm so close. Alright, 99.2. 99.3. Last spike is probably closer to like 99.6. Alright, 99.4. 99.5. Just 0.5% of the level is left. We're actually going at like 0.1x speed, so it's just easy to. If the spike does appear, it's gonna be. Oh, there's the spike. There's the spike. It's gonna be easy to pass it since we're in 0.1x speed. Alright, go. Alright, there's the trigger. Now we need to beat the level again. Now we're heading back to 0%. Oh, I almost exited the level. Oh, that would have been bad. Yeah, now we need to go all the way back to like 1%. We need to head all the way back to the beginning. Yeah, this level is literally 5 hours. So yeah, I was correct. now the level is going to slowly tick back to 0. But you know what? I've been live streaming for an hour and a half, so like, I don't think I could theoretically finish Mule today, but it would take until 7:30 p.m. I would complete the level at about 7:30 p.m. and I just don't have that kind of time right now. So, you know what? Today we're going to end stream and then we're going to finish the entire level tomorrow at around the same time. We're gonna go all the remaining 2.5 hours. Ah, darn, my computer needs to restart, so I'm gonna need to tell my computer when to restart. Schedule restart. Pick a day. Thursday, August 20th. Thursday, August 19th. Whatever. Alright, now it's not. I don't think it's gonna restart on me now. So, see ya. I'm gonna end stream and then we're gonna do it again tomorrow. We're gonna do the full 2.5 hours that are remaining.